हेलो गाइस, अगर चैनल पे नए हो तो सब्सक्राइब कर देना। और अगर तुम रिकॉर्डेड वीडियो देख रहे हो तो चैनल पे जाके मेरा न्यू लाइव स्ट्रीम ज्वाइन कर सकते हो। आज मटेरियल साइंस सब्जेक्ट ख़त्म करने का है, तो फटाक से पढ़ाई स्टार्ट करते हैं। थोड़ा कैमरा एडजस्ट कर लेते हैं, देखते कैसा दिख रहा है। घड़ी का टाइमर स्टार्ट करते हैं। थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा हो गया। थोड़ा पास में लेते। और इसको ऐसा करते, थोड़ा सीधा। और एक चीज़ की कमी है, ये इतना अच्छा तो दिख नहीं रहा, लेकिन ठीक है। चलो अभी स्टार्ट करते हैं।
Let me tell you guys, though ironically, I am saying cancer has a cure, corrosion has no cure. बेटा ऐसा बोलने में मैं क्या इंप्रेस करना चाहता हूँ आपके माइंड में कि corrosion is more dangerous than cancer. Even today, there is no permanent cure for corrosion. Corrosion can only be prevented. Corrosion cannot be permanently cured. That is the reason why industry considers corrosion as a serious problem. Next, number 2. When you are replacing the corroded component with the new one, are you not requiring to spend more money towards the new component? Yes, sir. That means by corrosion, there will be property damage, there are financial losses, there will be productivity losses. Yes or no, beta? And there will be loss of useful life of the component. There is loss of useful life, there is property damage, there are financial damages, productivity losses. That is the reason why industry considers corrosion as a serious problem. In the last 1 century, throughout the globe, in all the countries, do you know, highest productivity loss has taken place only by corrosion. In the last 1 century, highest productivity loss has taken place in engineering industries only by corrosion. That is the reason why industry considers corrosion as a serious problem. Right. Now, having understood what is corrosion, why industry considers corrosion as a serious problem, we are now going to types of corrosion. Come on, Beta. Let me write it here. Types of corrosion. Corrosion can be classified into 4 basic types. We write it as dry corrosion, second, wet corrosion, next, de-alloying, and stress corrosion. Right. Now, this dry corrosion, it can be due to several factors. Let me write here. Dry corrosion can be due to oxygen. Similarly, dry corrosion can be due to hydrogen sulfide in the atmosphere. Dry corrosion can be due to hydrogen in the atmosphere. So these are causative factors. Dry corrosion can be due to oxygen, dry corrosion can be due to hydrogen sulfide, or dry corrosion can be due to hydrogen in the atmosphere. The dry corrosion which is due to oxygen is called as oxidation. It is called as oxidation. Dry corrosion which is due to oxygen is known as oxidation. Dry corrosion which is due to hydrogen sulfide is known as hydrogen embrittlement. It is called as hydrogen embrittlement. The dry corrosion which is due to hydrogen is called as decarburization. Similarly, wet corrosion is classified into two basic types. We call them as galvanic cell corrosion, galvanic cell corrosion or electrochemical corrosion. It's called as galvanic cell corrosion or electrochemical corrosion. And then second classification is concentration cell corrosion. Concentration cell corrosion. This concentration cell corrosion in turn is classified into pitting corrosion and crevice corrosion. Pitting corrosion and crevice corrosion. Right. Then de-alloying, for example, I am giving you the classification here. The de-alloying can be of two basic types. We call them as graphitization or dezincification. Next, this stress corrosion can be due to external stresses or internal stresses, but the name remains as it is. In both the cases, we call it as stress corrosion only. Right? That's why I'm not showing any classification here. Now that is how we try to classify various types of corrosion. About these corrosions, we are now going to discuss. For example, come on.
Dry corrosion is due to oxygen, hydrogen embrittlement. Due to oxygen, due to H2S, due to oxygen, due to hydrogen, due to H2S, hydrogen sulfide. Due to oxygen, due to hydrogen, due to hydrogen sulfide, decarbonization. Oxidation. Hydrogen embrittlement. Hydrogen embrittlement और इसको decarbonization. Wet corrosion are two types: galvanic cell corrosion and concentration cell corrosion. And concentration cell corrosion. And concentration cell corrosion is divided again into two parts: pitting and crevice corrosion. CREVICE, crevice corrosion. And de-alloying is divided into two parts: graphitization and dezincification. GRAPHITION, ग्रेफिटाइजेशन है, डीजिंकिफिकेशन।
Now, let us say dry corrosion. Dry corrosion is the first one that I am concentrating on. Dry corrosion. Right. Number one, oxidation. Under dry corrosion, first one is oxidation. Come on, look. When I say dry corrosion, what is the meaning of dry corrosion? Dry corrosion means the corrosion which takes place when hot metallic surfaces are in direct contact with atmospheric dry gases. When hot metallic
surface
the corrosion which takes place hot metallic surfaces are
when hot metallic surfaces are
in direct contact with atmospheric dry gases.
with atmospheric dry gases.
When hot metallic surfaces are in direct contact with atmospheric gases, the corrosion which takes place is called as a dry corrosion. Sir, who will be there in the atmosphere? What are the gases in the atmosphere? There can be oxygen,
Oxidation.
so if the oxygen is causing corrosion, it's called as oxidation. In the atmosphere, there can be hydrogen sulfide, in which case the dry corrosion caused by hydrogen sulfide is called as hydrogen embrittlement. In the atmosphere, there can be normal hydrogen gas. If the corrosion is due to normal hydrogen gas, we call it as decarburization. So these are the three types of dry corrosion processes. Now when we say oxidation, what's going to happen? In oxidation, let's say for example, you are taking hot metallic surfaces. When metals are heated in open atmosphere, remember the chemical affinity of metals to react with atmospheric oxygen increases with increase in temperature. The chemical affinity of metallic materials to react with atmospheric oxygen increases with increase in temperature. So at high temperature, what happens is, between the metallic surfaces and atmospheric oxygen, chemical reaction will take place. Due to this chemical reaction, an oxide layer is going to be formed. Electrons are going to be donated from the metal, and those are accepted by the oxygen. So oxygen becomes oxide. Oxygen becomes oxide by accepting the electrons from base metal. That oxide layer is going to be formed by oxidation reaction. An oxide layer is going to be formed on the surface. This is called as oxide layer formed by chemical reaction. Oxide layer formed by chemical reaction. Now, based on the nature of this oxide layer formed in oxidation, oxide layers are classified into four types. We call them as stable layers, unstable layers, unstable layers, volatile layers, and porous layers. Friends, these different types of layers will be formed in case of different types of metals. Come on, for example, stable layers are found in case of metals like aluminum, tin, copper, and lead. Unstable layers are found in case of noble metals like gold, silver, and platinum. Volatile layers are found in case of reactive metals like molybdenum. Porous layers are found in case of alkaline earth metals like lithium, sodium, potassium, magnesium. In case of such elements, like alkaline earth metals, we are going to find what is called as the porous layers. Out of all these layers, only the name itself indicates with stable layers. So what is the meaning of this? Let me tell you very simply. Suppose this is a hot metallic surface of aluminum or tin or copper or lead. The first layer of oxide, which is formed in these metals, the first layer of oxide that is formed in case of these metallic materials becomes stable. That means what, sir? When the oxide layer is stable, it will have fine grained structure. Therefore, its strength and hardness is more. Number two, it will be tenacious. Means that oxide layer will be holding back to the background metal. It will be holding to the background metal tightly. That's called tenacity. Right? And it will be impervious. Impervious means non-penetrable. That means as long as that stable layer is there on the surface, no further oxide can take, formation can take place. No further oxidation can take place. So first layer of oxide formed will prevent further oxidation. First layer of oxide formed will prevent further oxidation. Therefore, they are called as protective layers. Such layers are stable layers. So stable layers are also called as protective layers. Stable layers are also called as protective layers. These are protective layers. Protective means they don't have stable fixation. That stable layer is there on the surface and it will be impervious. Impervious means non-penetrable. That means as long as that stable layer is there on the surface, no further oxide can take, formation can take. There no further oxide. Can take place. So first layer of oxide formed will prevent further oxidation. First layer of oxide formed will prevent further oxidation. Therefore, they are called as protective layers. Such layers are stable layers. So stable layers are also called as protective layers. Stable layers are also called as protective layers. These are protective layers. Protective means they don't allow further oxidation. They don't allow further oxidation. Right. Next, unstable layers are formed in case of gold, silver, and platinum. Sir, if you take, for example, gold and heat it to high temperature, at high temperature, gold chemically reacts with oxygen, gold oxide will be formed. Now the gold oxide formed will be reaching high energy level. Gold is, I already told you, gold is already at low energy state as a pure metal. Now the moment when gold oxide formation takes place, that gold oxide reaches high energy level. And you know, high energy level is unstable state of existence. Therefore, the moment when gold oxide is formed, it is unstable condition. Therefore, the gold oxide immediately decomposes into gold and oxygen. Therefore, oxygen goes back into atmosphere, leaving the gold back to gold. That means gold is not hurt. Gold is not damaged. Only oxygen has come. Only oxygen has gone. Oxygen has come, reacted with gold. Gold oxide is formed. Gold oxide has become readily unstable. It decomposed, and therefore, due to decomposition, oxygen went back into air without damaging gold. That type of layers are called as unstable layers. Come again, friends. Due to unstable layers, there is neither protection nor there is loss. They are neither harm. Nor they are helpful. Due to unstable layers, there is neither protection nor there is loss. They are neither harmful nor they are helpful. So what is volatile layers? Volatile layers are formed in case of reactive metals like molybdenum.
बाद में खाता.
Suppose you take molybdenum, you heat molybdenum to high temperatures. Keep in your mind, when the molybdenum is heated to high temperatures due to chemical reaction between molybdenum and atmospheric oxygen, molybdenum trioxide layer will be formed on the surface. When molybdenum trioxide layer is formed, remember, molybdenum trioxide will have low melting point temperature than molybdenum itself. So when you are heating molybdenum, Molybdenum can sustain high temperatures, but on the surface of molybdenum, whatever molybdenum trioxide layer is there, its melting point temperature is less than that of molybdenum. Therefore, जैसा जैसा आप गर्म करते जाएंगे, surface से molybdenum trioxide layer evaporation बनकर निकलता जाएगा. Therefore, what will happen when molybdenum trioxide layer is evaporated? Fresh surface of molybdenum is now exposed to atmosphere. Again oxidation takes place. Again evaporation. Again oxidation. Again evaporation. ऐसा oxidation बनता ही रहता जाता है. Oxidation takes place. Evaporation takes place. Oxidation. Evaporation. Up to what time, sir? Until total molybdenum is completely lost by evaporation. That is what is called as volatile layers. Now tell me, are they helpful? Are they protective? Are they harmful? Yes, they are harmful, sir. Come on. For us. Because when I talk about porous layers, porous, का मतलब है whatever the oxide layer is formed on the surface. Suppose this is the oxide layer that is formed on the surface. This oxide layer is having pores. This is the oxide layer. It's going to be non-uniform corrosion. Whatever is shown with the hatching lines, it is considered as oxide layer. Oxide layers के बीच में खाली जगह रहता है. That's called as pore. Since pores are there, through those pores, atmospheric oxygen keeps on attacking base metal. Through these pores, atmospheric oxygen keeps on attacking the base metal. Oxidation continues. When oxidation takes place in the pores, again oxide layer will be formed, but that oxide layer also becomes porous. Therefore, through the pores, oxidation process will continue until total metal is completely oxidized. Then is there any protection? No, there is no protection. It is quite harmful. Volatile layers and porous layers are harmful layers. Stable layers are neither protective nor helpful nor harmful. Stable layers are only protective layers. Therefore, in history, there were two scientists, Pilling and Bedworth नामक दो scientists ने क्या किया? They have made extensive research investigation. कौन सा condition को satisfy करने से oxide layer stable layer बनता है? Okay, ये scientists ने क्या किया? They tried to arrive at a condition to form stable layers which are protective, right? So we write the particular rule called as Pilling-Bedworth rule. Write down. According to Pilling-Bedworth. According to Pilling-Bedworth. These are the names of the two scientists. According to Pilling-Bedworth rule, an oxide layer will be stable and protective. Will be stable and protective. Stable and protective. Stable and protective if volume of oxide layer is more than or equal to volume of the metal out of which oxide layer is formed. Out of which oxide is formed. If this condition is satisfied, beta, then only the oxide layer is going to be stable and protective. Okay, Pilling and Bedworth ने एक rule दे दिया. Now let us write by the series. If you write it in the form of left side more than or equal to right side, it's called the Pilling-Bedworth rule. If you write it in in the form of left side divided by right side more than or equal to 1. That is called as filling bedworth ratio, right? So let me write here. Filling bedworth ratio is called as, in short, it's called as filling bedworth ratio, PB ratio. PB ratio implies volume of oxide divided by right side, volume of metal, left side divided by right side. If this ratio is taken, this ratio is what is called as the filling bedworth ratio. Now, if PB ratio is, if PBR or PB ratio, filling bedworth ratio, is more than or equal to 1, resulting oxide layer, the resulting oxide layer will be stable and protective. Will be stable and protective layer. Okay? Filling and bedworth range. अपना research investigation open करके रख दिया. Later, what happened is, the research work was extended. If PB ratio is more than or equal to 1, the resulting oxide layer will be stable and protective. If it is less than 1, it will be porous. It will not be protective. Right? So in examination, what happens is, exactly based on this PB ratio, you can get simple numerical problems. For example, can I write this from here? Let me change the color of the pen so that I can emphasize that. I am going to rewrite this. Volume of oxide can be written as molecular weight of oxide divided by molecular weight of oxide divided by density of oxide, molecular weight of oxide divided by density of oxide. What does this ratio give me? This ratio gives me volume of oxide, weight by density, gives me volume of oxide divided by volume of the metal. Similarly, you can write molecular weight of metal divided by density of the metal, right? Now, what is this denominator? This denominator is nothing but volume of the metal, correct or not? If the oxide layer has to be, if the oxide layer has to be stable and protective, this entire ratio should be more than or equal to 1. Yes or no? For oxide layer to be stable and protective. Now, examiners क्या करता है? They will give you data. ये सारा डेटा तुम्हारे को देता है. Molecular weight of oxide, density of oxide, molecular weight of metal, and density of metal. ये 4 data points elements को तुम्हारे को देता है. और पूछता है, decide whether the resulting oxide layer is going to be stable and protective or not. कौन सा तरह का oxide layer बनते हैं? Decide करो. Come on. Check the PB ratio. If the PB ratio is satisfied, declare that it is stable and protective. If that ratio is not satisfied, say that it is unstable or porous and harmful. Can you do that? Simple numerical problem. चलो बेटा आगे. Now, so after error, maybe this rule for step 1. Of stable layers, they wanted to know, ऐसा एक ratio derive कर दिया है, but is this statement valid? Is this statement valid for any value of PB ratio? उसे इन्होंने क्या किया? They went on testing. When they went on testing, they found that when PB ratio is more than 1.4, oxide layer on the surface of the metal expanded significantly. Due to more expansion of oxide layer has developed cracks in between, and through those cracks, atmospheric oxygen accesses the metal, so oxidation continues. That means protection is lost. Such type of corrosion is also identified. Come on, बेटा, एक नोट लिखेंगे यहाँ पर. We write a note. Come on, बेटा. Let us write. If PB ratio, please continue. If PB ratio is significantly more than 1.4, if PB ratio is significantly more than 1.4, the resulting expansion of oxide layer, is sufficient to cause cracking, hence the protection to the metal is lost. Hence, the protection to the metal is lost as corrosion continues through the cracks, as oxidation continues through the cracks, as oxidation continues, as oxidation continues through the cracks, through these cracks. This type of corrosion is known as spalling, S-P-A-L-L-I-N-G. This type of corrosion is known as spalling. All right. This type of corrosion is known as spalling. Come on. Now, that is regarding the story of oxidation or the story of oxidation as a form of dry corrosion. I am now taking up the second type of dry corrosion. Second type of dry corrosion is called as hydrogen embrittlement.
Cheers.
Hydrogen embrittlement. Second type of dry corrosion is called as hydrogen embrittlement. But in case of hydrogen embrittlement, candidate material is steel. Suppose you are heating steel to high temperatures in hydrogen sulfide environment. Sir, कहाँ रहता है hydrogen sulfide? In industrial environment, there will be hydrogen sulfide and hydrogen in the atmosphere. Therefore, in industrial environment containing hydrogen sulfide, if you are heating the steel to high temperatures, we know what will happen. At high temperatures, hydrogen sulfide will dissociate into nascent hydrogen and sulfur. Then this nascent hydrogen in atomic form is highly surface active. What does it do? That nascent hydrogen diffuses into the voids inside the steel. The nascent hydrogen in atomic form goes into the voids inside the steel. After going into the voids inside the steel, the temperature inside the voids will be less. At low temperatures, hydrogen cannot survive in atomic form. Therefore, after going into the voids, atomic hydrogen recombines into molecular hydrogen. When atomic hydrogen gets converted into molecular form, size of hydrogen molecule will increase. Come on, with the void size remaining constant. If the hydrogen molecule size increases, it results in increasing of internal hydrogen gas pressure. When internal hydrogen gas pressure inside the voids increases, it acts like internal stresses. Hence, ductility will be lost and brittleness will be increased. When brittleness is increased, we call it as embrittlement. Because steel is becoming more and more brittle due to hydrogen.
अरे हेलो संजना, हेलो ग्रुप। हेलो ग्रुप, क्या आप कॉलेज में हो? नहीं, मेरा ग्रेजुएशन कंप्लीट हो गया है। ग्रेजुएशन कंप्लीट होके 3 महीने हो गए। अभी घर से पढ़ाई शुरू है फुल टाइम।
Entrapment inside the voids. We call this as hydrogen embrittlement. Got the idea? At the end, I am going to give you suggestions for prevention of corrosion. So I hope you have understood how hydrogen can result in embrittlement. Hydrogen atomic diffusion can result in making the steel more and more brittle. Right. Let me now take up the third type of dry corrosion. Third type of dry corrosion is called as decarburization. Come on, friends. So in decarburization, convert into molecular form to nascent hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen embrittlement.
आफ्टर ग्रेजुएशन आप पढ़ रहे हो? हाँ, आफ्टर ग्रेजुएशन ही पढ़ रहा हूँ। अरे मतलब एग्ज़ाम, कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्ज़ाम की तैयारी कर रहा हूँ, तो इसलिए जॉब को ड्रॉप कर दिया और फुल टाइम पढ़ के एग्ज़ाम देने के लिए सोचा हूँ नेक्स्ट ईयर। जॉब के साथ में मुश्किल होता है पढ़ाई, इसलिए।
Hydrogen embrittlement. Second type of dry corrosion.
जॉब एक मुंबई की कंपनी थी, मॉर्निंग स्टार नाम की। तो कॉलेज से मैंने इंटरव्यू तो दिया था, लेकिन फिर मैंने ड्रॉप कर दिया वो प्लान। हाइड्रोजन एम्ब्रिटलमेंट।
It's called as hydrogen embrittlement.
अरे एक कॉर्पोरेट जॉब थी, कॉर्पोरेट की कोडिंग वगैरह करना पड़ता था उसमें।
In case of hydrogen embrittlement, candidate material is steel.
मेरी मैकेनिकल की स्ट्रीम है, फिर भी कोडिंग की जॉब में अप्लाई किया था। हमारे कॉलेज में कोर कंपनी ना, मतलब एकदम जो बहुत जैसे पॉइंटर रहता है कॉलेज में, जिनको ऐसा 8 या 9 पॉइंटर है, उनको मिलती है कोर। इसलिए थोड़ा मुश्किल था वहाँ पे कोर को लेना, इसलिए मैं सोचा मेरे को कोर में ही जाना है। तो फिर टेक्निकल गवर्नमेंट एग्ज़ाम देता हूँ, तो इसलिए उसकी पढ़ाई शुरू है।
Suppose you are heating steel to high temperatures in hydrogen sulfide environment. सर कहाँ रहता है हाइड्रोजन सल्फाइड?
एक्चुअली मैं न्यू लर्नर हूँ, समझ नहीं आ रहा कि कहाँ से शुरू करूँ। कैन यू प्लीज़ गाइड मी? अच्छा, तो अभी कौन सी क्लास में हो तुम? हाँ, मैंने जो बोला ना वो समझा नहीं होगा। कॉलेज कंप्लीट नहीं, कौन सा 11th-12th या कौन सा कॉलेज? अंडर ग्रेजुएशन 12th के बाद में जो करते हैं वो। नो कॉलेज कंप्लीट हो गया है मेरी। हाँ, तो कौन सा कॉलेज इन द सेंस 11th-12th में भी कॉलेज में रहते हैं, फिर 12th के बाद में भी कॉलेज में रहते हैं, तो 12th स्टैंडर्ड वाला कॉलेज कंप्लीट हुआ या कौन सा कॉलेज, वो बोल रहा हूँ मैं। क्योंकि 12th स्टैंडर्ड वाले को मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ वो नहीं समझेगा।
industrial environment, in industrial environment, there will be hydrogen sulfide and hydrogen in the atmosphere. Therefore, in
नो रियल वाला जो 3 years हम बोलते हैं, अच्छा वो वाला, तो ठीक है। तो उसमें क्या, उसमें कैन यू प्लीज़ गाइड मी ना, मतलब तुम्हारा ये डिप्लोमा से हो गया, 3 year का है बोल रहे हो तो? डिप्लोमा से हो गया? कॉमर्स, अभी कॉमर्स है क्या? फिर तो उसके अंदर तो सीए की एग्ज़ाम देते हैं ना। कॉमर्स मेरा मैं साइंस स्ट्रीम से हूँ, तो मेरे को कॉमर्स का इतना तो आइडिया नहीं है, लेकिन मेरे को सिर्फ सीए एग्ज़ाम देना पड़ता है उतना पता है। तो क्या प्लान है फिर? मतलब एक आइडिया तो बताओ कि तुमको क्या चाहिए आगे, तो उस हिसाब से मैं बता सकता हूँ।
Cell environment containing hydrogen sulfide, if you are heating the steel to high temperatures, we know what will happen.
बट ये कंपलसरी थोड़ी है। हाँ कंपलसरी नहीं है, पर मेरे को कॉमर्स का आइडिया नहीं है कि कॉमर्स में क्या क्या रास्ते आते हैं कॉलेज कंप्लीट होने के बाद में। तो मेरा एक पास में फ्रेंड है, तो वो सीए कर रहा है, उसने भी कॉमर्स किया था। तो मेरे को इतना पता है कि कॉमर्स के बाद में सीए करने का एक ऑप्शन होता है। अब प्रिपरेशन के बारे में बताओ A to Z। देखो, अगर कोई भी एग्ज़ाम क्रैक करने की है ना, तो उसके लिए बेसिक चीज़ें चाहिए। तो एक तो होता है कि पढ़ाई का सोर्स मतलब या तो तुम बुक से पढ़ाई कर सकते हो, या तो कोई कोचिंग में जाके पढ़ाई कर सकते हो, या तो फिर जैसा मैं ऑनलाइन कर रहा हूँ वैसा कर सकते हो। तो तुम्हारे पास में एक बेसिक मटेरियल आ जाता है जहाँ से तुम पढ़ाई कर सकते हो, यहाँ से तुम नॉलेज गेन कर सकते हो। फिर उसके बाद में क्या करना पड़ता है कि उसमें से नोट्स, खुद के हैंड रिटन नोट्स बनाना पड़ता है, क्योंकि वो जो वर्ड्स में बोल रहा है और अपने को जो वर्ड्स में समझ में आ रहा है, तो वो जो अपने को समझेगा ना वैसी लैंग्वेज में लिखना पड़ता है। तो जैसे रिवाइज करे तो अपने को फट से वो क्लिक हो जाए, अरे नहीं ये बात ये बोल रहा था वो सर, ऐसा नहीं ऐसा बोल रहा था। तो नोट्स बनाने का, और फिर जैसे प्रैक्टिस क्वेश्चन की कोई वर्कबुक या फिर ऐसा लेना पड़ता है। जैसा मेरा जो कोचिंग है तो वो खुद प्रोवाइड करते हैं, तो मैं उनकी वर्कबुक से क्वेश्चन प्रैक्टिस करता हूँ। जो जैसे सब्जेक्ट कंप्लीट हो गया, तो सब्जेक्ट कंप्लीट होने के बाद वर्कबुक प्रैक्टिस, फिर जो वर्कबुक प्रैक्टिस से अपने को पता चलता है कि अरे नहीं ये चैप्टर का ये पार्ट इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है, या फिर इस पार्ट में से मेनली क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं, या फिर इस फार्मूले से बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन बनते हैं। तो फिर शॉर्ट नोट्स बनाने के, और जो भी क्वेश्चन जो भी क्वेश्चन में तुमको सबसे ज़्यादा ये लगा कि नहीं नहीं ये पार्ट इम्पोर्टेंट है, तो वो इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट के शॉर्ट नोट्स बनाने के, एकदम कॉम्पैक्ट इसमें। तो नोट्स किस तरीके से, अभी नोट्स किस तरह से मतलब जैसे सर एक्सप्लेन कर रहा है तो तुमको समझ गया कि अच्छा उसका कहने का ये मतलब था, तो अपनी लैंग्वेज में फट से 2 लाइन में लिख लिए, ताकि अपन जैसे रिवाइज करें तो समझ जाए कि नहीं वो ये नहीं ये बोल रहा था। वो ऐसा नोट्स रहता है। क्वेश्चन प्रैक्टिस के बाद में मैं बोल रहा था शॉर्ट नोट्स बनाने के। शॉर्ट नोट्स बनने के बाद में फिर तुमको टेस्ट वगैरह देना पड़ेगा। टेस्ट देंगे तो तुमको समझेगा कि नहीं अपने ये मतलब अपनी जो खामियां हैं वो ये पॉइंट में है, टाइम मैनेजमेंट ख़राब है, या फिर फॉर्मूले याद नहीं है तो इसलिए क्वेश्चन नहीं बना। तो ऐसा 3-4 स्टेज रहते हैं, क्वेश्चन नोट्स, फिर क्वेश्चन सॉल्विंग, फिर शॉर्ट नोट्स, और फिर टेस्ट सीरीज। ये 4 स्टेज रहते हैं कोई भी एग्ज़ाम देखो तो। 15 मिनट के बाद। हाँ, क्या करना पड़ता है कि जैसे सब्जेक्ट वाइज देना पड़ता है। जैसे मेरे को बहुत सारे सब्जेक्ट है, तो टॉपिक वाइज अगर दूंगा मैं, तो मेरे को तो बहुत सारे टेस्ट देना पड़ेगा ना, तो इसलिए टॉपिक वाइज नहीं देता हूँ मैं सब्जेक्ट, एक सब्जेक्ट कंप्लीट होने के बाद उसके ऊपर एक टेस्ट आती है, तो वो देता हूँ ऐसा। रिवीजन रिवीजन तो मैंने अभी तक किया नहीं, मैं तो अभी स्टार्ट किया पढ़ाई। तो वैसे मैं जब 12th स्टैंडर्ड में था तब का बताता हूँ। तो रिवीजन के लिए मैं क्या करता था, शॉर्ट नोट से रिवाइज कर लेता था। मतलब फर्स्ट जो सबसे पहली रिवीजन होती है ना, सबसे पहले तो जो तुम नोट्स बनाते हैं उसमें से करने का, और फिर जैसे कुछ टाइम बाद तुम रिवाइज करते हो, तो फिर शॉर्ट नोट से रिवाइज करने का। क्योंकि नोट्स तो पूरे सब बुक भर के होती है ना, तो वो फटाफट रिवाइज करने में मुश्किल जाती है। तो शॉर्ट नोट्स अपन इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक का बनाते हैं, इम्पोर्टेंट जो भी नोट्स है वगैरह, फॉर्मूले वगैरह, तो वो रिवाइज कर लिया तो अपना हो जाता है रिवाइज। तो पहले आप नोट्स लेंदी बनाते हो। हाँ, मतलब नोट्स ऐसे बनाना पड़ता है कि अब अपन ने उसको देखे ना, तो अपने को टॉपिक या फिर चैप्टर का एकदम डीप अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो जाए, ऐसा बनाने का नोट्स, एक एक पॉइंट लिखने का, जो भी है। हाँ, फिर नहीं, फिर शॉर्ट नोट्स डायरेक्ट नहीं बनाते आता। पहले अपने को पता चलना चाहिए ना कि नहीं भाई, अपन ने इतना सारा नोट्स लिखे, तो उसमें से कौन से पॉइंट इंपॉर्टेंट है। तो वो इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट जानने के लिए अपने को क्वेश्चन प्रैक्टिस करना पड़ता है। जब क्वेश्चन प्रैक्टिस करोगे तो अपने को आइडिया आ जाएगा कि ये पार्ट में से ज़्यादा क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं, ये पार्ट में से कम पूछते हैं, इस पार्ट में से थ्योरी आती है, इस पार्ट में से न्यूमेरिकल आते हैं। तो ऐसा एनसीईआरटी नहीं, एनसीईआरटी मतलब मैं जो एग्ज़ाम दे रहा हूँ उसके अंदर एनसीईआरटी का ये नहीं है, मतलब कुछ पोर्शन वगैरह नहीं है, इसलिए मैं उसमें से नहीं करता। आप कौन सी एग्ज़ाम की प्रिपरेशन कर रहे हो? मैं यूपीएससी इंजीनियरिंग सर्विसेज ये वाली एग्ज़ाम कर रहा हूँ। यूपीएससी में दो होते हैं, एक एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सर्विस और एक इंजीनियरिंग सर्विस। एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव मतलब जो आईएएस आईपीएस जो पुलिस की वर्दी पहनते हैं वो रहते हैं, और मैं इंजीनियरिंग सर्विस मतलब जो तुमको रोड का काम दिखता है या कोई पुल, फ्लाईओवर, वो सब काम होता है जो भी गवर्नमेंट के अंडर में, जो भी इंजीनियरिंग से रिलेटेड वर्क होते हैं, मैं वो कर रहा हूँ। अगर तुम्हारे क्वेश्चन हो गए हो तो मैं पढ़ाई पे वापस जाऊँ क्या? जल्दी रिप्लाई। उसको इधर करते थोड़ा। भाई थोड़ा सा नोट्स मेकिंग के बारे में और अच्छे से बताइए। नोट्स तो यार अभी देखो, जैसे टीचर क्या बोर्ड पे लिख के भी समझाता है, तो बोर्ड पे जो लिखता है उसको छाप लेने का, ठीक है। और वो जो एक्सप्लेन करता है ना, जो लिखा है उसने, तो वो जो एक्सप्लेन करता है, अभी मैं जैसा ऑनलाइन क्लास करता हूँ तो मैं उसका एक्सप्लेनेशन सुन लेता हूँ, फिर पॉज करता हूँ वीडियो, और मेरे को जो समझ में आया उसके एक्सप्लेनेशन के थ्रू, तो वो मैं अपने वर्ड्स में लिख लेता हूँ। ऐसे तो ऐसे नोट्स बनाना पड़ता है। कंसंट्रेशन तो होता है, लेकिन अभी कोई देख नहीं रहा था और तुम आ गई, तो मैंने बोला कोई आया नहीं है, एक लड़की आई, तो मैं बोला बात कर लूँ, इसलिए। बाकी वैसे तो मैं 1 घंटा करता हूँ और 10 मिनट का ब्रेक लेता हूँ। हाँ, रिकॉर्डेड ही देखता हूँ। मतलब मैं लाइव भी लेने वाला था, लाइव क्लास, लेकिन उसमें कैसा कि कुछ मिस हो गया ना, तो वो रिवाइंड नहीं करते था, इसलिए। और रिकॉर्डेड क्लास लिए तो थोड़ा चिप भी मिलता है। हो गई है क्वेश्चन पूछ के? ओके।
Temperatures, hydrogen sulfide will dissociate into nascent hydrogen and sulfur. Then this nascent hydrogen in atomic form is highly surface active. What does it do? That nascent hydrogen diffuses into the voids inside the steel. The nascent hydrogen in atomic form goes into the voids inside the steel. After going into the voids inside the steel, the temperature inside the voids will be less. At low temperatures, hydrogen cannot. In the atomic form. Therefore, after going into the voids, atomic hydrogen recombines into molecular hydrogen.
Nascent recombined into hydrogen due to the less temperature, low temperature of void.
When atomic hydrogen gets converted into molecular form, size of hydrogen molecule will increase. Come on, with voids.
Nascent hydrogen has small size, but hydrogen has large size.
Is remaining constant. If the molecule hydrogen molecule size increases, it results in increasing of internal hydrogen gas pressure. When internal.
Therefore, due to this, the internal hydrogen gas pressure increases inside the void.
Hydrogen gas pressure inside the voids increases. It acts like internal stresses.
Acts like internal
It's like internal stresses. Hence, ductility will be lost and brittleness will be increased. When brittleness is increased, we call it as embrittlement. Because material steel is becoming more and more brittle due to hydrogen entrapment inside the voids. We call this as hydrogen embrittlement. Got the idea? At the end, I am going to give you suggestions for prevention of corrosion. So I hope you have understood how hydrogen can result in embrittlement. Hydrogen atomic diffusion can result in making the steel more and more brittle. Right. Let me now take up the third type of dry corrosion. Third type of dry corrosion is called as decarburization. Come on, friends. So in decarburization also, the candidate material is steel only. Decarburization takes place when you are trying to heat the steel in the presence of hydrogen gas. Earlier it was hydrogen sulfide gas. Now you are heating the steel in the presence of hydrogen gas. In heat treatment plants, in heat factories, in the atmosphere, hydrogen gas will be there. So when you are trying to heat steel in the presence of hydrogen gas in the atmosphere, what's going to happen, sir? Dosto? When you are heating the steel, at high temperatures, iron-carbon bond in the steel becomes weaker. There. Carbon which is there inside the steel, it tries to diffuse the surface of steel. Why? Iron carbon bond becomes weaker, and therefore carbon क्या करेगा? Iron का साथ ही छोड़ के carbon atom will try to come to the surface of steel. आगे, the carbon atom which is coming to the surface of steel, इसको कौन दिखता है बेटा? Atmosphere में बहने वाला hydrogen gas जब दिखता है at high temperatures between carbon and hydrogen in the atmosphere, chemical reaction will take place. They together result in formation of methane gas. Once they are converted into methane gas, come on, once they are converted into methane gas, that methane gas will diffuse into the voids inside the steel. When the methane gas diffuses into the voids inside the steel, in the voids, gas pressure of methane gas will increase. That increase in methane gas pressure acts like internal stress. Therefore, brittleness बढ़ जाती है. कितना बढ़ता है सर brittleness? Steel can undergo cracking, tearing because of methane gas pressure inside the voids. That type of corrosion is what is called as decarburization. Decarburization बोलते हैं. This results in not only increasing brittleness, it also results in cracking, fissuring, or tearing of steel. Right? Those are the challenges with decarburization as a dry corrosion phenomenon. Come on, friends. Next, I'm going to another major area called as wet corrosion. Wet corrosion is the second important category. So far we are with only dry corrosion. Sir, what is wet corrosion and what is it going to take place? Wet corrosion will take place by creating number of anodic and cathodic areas. Come on, wet corrosion is a corrosion which takes place when two dissimilar metals are in direct contact with an electrolyte. When two dissimilar metals are in direct contact with an electrolyte, जो corrosion बनता है, that is called as wet corrosion. Okay. First type of wet corrosion is known as galvanic cell corrosion. Galvanic cell corrosion is the first type of wet corrosion. देखिए बेटा. Earlier in the schooling days, the science teacher used to explain like this. Suppose you take a container, assume that there is a positive pole and a negative pole. They are in direct contact through an electrolyte. उनका ऐसा diagram दिखा दे रहा था. Teacher was trying to show electrolyte. So this is exactly what we mean by when an anode and a cathode are directly in contact. When an anode and a cathode are directly in contact with each other through an electrolyte, a galvanic cell is formed. What is a galvanic cell? When anode and cathode are both in direct contact with an electrolyte, this assembly constitutes what is called as galvanic cell. Sir, when galvanic cell formation takes place, what is going to happen? Anode say, from the anodic metal, slowly electrons will be removed. The electrons which are removed from anode, they will travel to the electrolyte towards the cathode and they can be deposited on the cathode. The thickness of these corrosion products on the cathode will increase as a function of time. So, when electrons are gradually removed from anode and they are getting coated on the cathode, size of the anode will keep on decreasing time to time. This is called as anodic dissolution. This is the meaning of galvanic cell corrosion. So, in every galvanic cell corrosion, anodic dissolution takes place and the material which is removed from anode gets carried away through the electrolyte towards the cathode and gets coated on the cathode. Coating thickness increases as a function of time. Now coming here, friends. Lekin sir, in our mechanical engineering assemblies, where is electrolyte? Better. Electrolyte does not mean some other chemical compound. Take it in simple terminology. Nal ka pani electrolyte ka kaam karta hai. Today, tap water acts as electrolyte. Humidity in the atmosphere acts like electrolyte. Oxide layer on surface of one of the two materials acts like electrolyte. In the schooling days, science teacher used to talk about sodium chloride, potassium chloride and all that, working as electrolytes. Today you need not have sodium chloride and potassium chloride. Nal ka pani, electrolyte ka kaam karta hai. Humidity in the atmosphere acts like electrolyte. Oxide scale on the surface of one of the two materials, anode and cathode, ये दोनों के ऊपर से किसी एक कंपोनेंट के ऊपर oxide scale है, that will act like electrolyte. All right sir. Electrolyte बोल तो क्या बोलते हैं? पता आया, पता मिला मेरे. लेकिन सर एनोड कैथोड मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग असेंबली में कहाँ रहता है सर? बेटा एनोड कैथोड बोलने में मतलब है dissimilar metals. When two dissimilar metals are in contact through an electrolyte, one of them will become anode, another will become cathode. लेकिन सर कौन सा वाला एनोड बनेगा, कौन सा वाला कैथोड बनेगा? Who will tell me? But already स्कूलिंग डेज में इलेक्ट्रोकेमिस्ट्री नामक एक चैप्टर था, वहां पर तुम्हारे सामने तुम्हारे दे दिया गया था गैल्वानिक सीरीज, ईएमएफ सीरीज को भी कुछ दे दिया गया था. Let me show you the galvanic series so that you can recollect what you have studied in the schooling days once. Right? What is the galvanic series, sir? Let me show you here. Galvanic series. You have to copy this galvanic series and by heart this series as it is, because there are questions coming up on galvanic series. Galvanic series. I'm trying. Let me first copy down this galvanic series and just start detailed explanation about this. Magnesium, zinc, then cadmium, aluminium, steel. Next, cast iron, lead, tin, followed by nickel, brass, then it is copper, bronze, right, followed by silver, titanium, graphite, next gold and platinum. This is the galvanic series that I wanted to just bring it to your notice. Better? What is galvanic series? Most of the metallic materials, most of the metallic materials which are seen in the periodic table have been tested in saline.
MgZn, cadmium, aluminium, steel, cast iron, PbSn, nickel, brass, copper, bronze, silver, titanium, graphite, gold, platinum.
Water environment for their chemical reactivity and those. What is galvanic series? Most of the metallic materials which are seen in the periodic table have been tested in saline water environment for their chemical reactivity and those metallic materials are arranged in a particular sequence of the sequence. They are arranged in the sequence of increasing chemical reactivity or decreasing. Chemical reactivity आइए यहाँ पर those metallic materials are arranged in a particular sequence. कौन सा sequence है? Periodic table have been tested in saline water environment for their chemical reactivity and those metallic materials are arranged in a particular sequence. कौन सा sequence है? They are arranged in the sequence of increasing chemical reactivity or decreasing chemical reactivity. आइए यहाँ पर in this series, बेटा इसको मैं vertical क्यों लिखा? In this series, as you go from top to bottom, you come across more and more cathodic materials. You come across more and more cathodic materials. You come across more and more cathodic materials or cathodes. As you go from bottom to top, you come across more and more anodes. These are more and more anodic metals or anodes. Come on, friends. So you can easily read it. This is a standard galvanic series table. So यहाँ से एक भी क्वेश्चन आ रहा है बेटा IAS एग्जामिनेशन में. They are giving you 5 or 6 elements in the preliminary examination, and they are asking you arrange these elements in proper galvanic series. So unless you remember all the series, बेटा, it may become difficult. Then my goal रहा, याद में रखो बेटा, कितना भी मेहनत करना है करो, but its fruits will be excellent in future. Right? That much level of proof.
ठीक है.
वो किसी दूसरा एग्जामिनेशन में भारत में मिलने वाला नहीं. हाईएस्ट इंजीनियरिंग प्रोफेशन इंडियन इंजीनियरिंग सर्विस
खाना खाएंगे अभी
एक बार करते
पेट भर के.
आइए once you understand this galvanic series element as you go from top to bottom, the element as you go from top to bottom you come across more and more cathodic metals. As you go from bottom to top you come across more and more anodic metals. Right? Now that means if somebody gives me names of 2 elements which are in a mechanical engineering assembly, I can locate those 2 metals in this table and find out of those 2 metals which is cathode, which is anode, which I find out कर सकता हूँ ये galvanic series table को देख के. Correct or not? That is the help that is done by galvanic series. So now you know out of 2 dissimilar metals which are in contact in a mechanical engineering assembly, which element is which metal is anode, which metal is going to be cathode. बल्कि जब तुम्हारे को मालूम है, you can now start taking your decisions. सर क्या होता है galvanic cell corrosion में? In galvanic cell corrosion, Come on, anodic part will undergo dissolution from time to time. Size of the anode will decrease. The material which is removed from anode will travel through the electrolyte towards cathode and it gets coated on the cathode. तो मैं इसका रक्षा कैसा कर सकता हूँ? To prevent the galvanic cell corrosion, दोस्तों कोई बोल दिया था? Initially make the anode, जो anode है, dissolution से size कम होने वाला है. Initially cathode से भी बड़ा size का रखो. Okay, that is one solution. Initially make the anode size anode. Surface anode surface area larger than cathode surface area. That is one solution. Second solution is, come on, beta. Suppose
और थाली पार्सल मिलेंगी क्या? थाली पार्सल रुको। तो कैसे हैं आप लोग? कुछ ज़्यादा ही जोर से बोल दिया। तो कैसे हैं आप लोग? तो कैसे हैं आप लोग? तो कैसे हैं आप लोग? भाई पढ़ाई करते वापस से हो गया लंच ब्रेक अभी। Stream will over at 4:05 p.m. Stream will over। इसको अपन पिन कर देते और अभी रखते हैं साइड में चालू करके फ्री वॉचिंग। हेलो गाइस। अरे जैक हेलो भाई। अरे जैक मैंने क्या किया अभी माइक यूज़ कर रहा हूँ माइक। तो आवाज़ कैसी आ रही है अभी? पहले वो कैमरे के पास जाके बोलना पड़ता था। वॉइस ठीक है, थोड़ा सा वो ऐसा बैकग्राउंड में ऐसा आवाज़ आ रहा होगा, वो क्या वो माइक से आ रहा हो। मैंने कहा कि वो पुराना हेडफोन का माइक उसको काट कूट के जुगाड़ करके बनाया, तो ऐसा आवाज़ आ रहा है इससे। इसमें एक अच्छी बात है कि मेरे को ज़्यादा ज़ोर से बोलने की ज़रूरत नहीं, पास में ही है तो धीरे से बोलता हूँ तो भी वॉइस कैच कर लेता है। लेकिन कंपैरेटिवली मोबाइल के माइक से बात करता था तो बैकग्राउंड की नॉइज़ ज़्यादा कैच कर देता हूँ। अभी इतनी नॉइज़ कैच नहीं करता हो परफेक्ट। हाँ बस थोड़ा नॉइज़ है। वो भी ऐसा हाई फ्रीक्वेंसी का है ना, वो थोड़ा इरिटेट हो रहा होगा आई गेस, पर थोड़ा एडजस्ट कर लो थोड़ा भाई के लिए। चलो स्टार्ट करते हैं.
That is one solution. Second solution is, come on beta. Suppose there are two materials that are in an assembly. Let me tell you for example. Suppose एक जगह में let's say कॉपर है, दूसरी जगह में कैडमियम है. ये दोनों कॉपर और कैडमियम एक मैकेनिकल असेंबली में है. कॉपर बनेगा कैथोड, कैडमियम बनेगा एनोड. लेकिन मैं कैडमियम कंपोनेंट का लाइफ को सैक्रिफाइस करने के लिए तैयार नहीं हूं. साइज इंक्रीज करोगे तो बहुत बड़ा काम नहीं है बेटा, कोई कर सकते हैं. लेकिन मैं कैडमियम कंपोनेंट को सैक्रिफाइस करने के लिए जब तैयार नहीं हूं, बोलो मैं इसका रक्षा कैसा कर सकता हूं?
ठीक है, अभी यस ब्रो एडजस्ट कर लेंगे. मैं अभी चला. चलो बाय बाय, सी यू.
Better. What is the simple solution? Whatever the anode is there, connect it to another metal which is more anodic than this. Magnesium से connect करो. For example. So when you are connecting, when you are जिस anode का रक्षा करना चाहते हैं, तो convert that into a cathode metal which is more anodic than this. When you are connecting into another metal which is more anodic than this, with reference to this anode, this is becoming cathode, hence gets protected. लेकिन इसका जगह में ये वाला करोड़ हो जाएगा. Like is the point clear? That means there is no permanent solution. Right? There is no permanent solution. Now, third suggestion is there. You know, beta. When you want to protect a particular anode, what is the technique that you are adopting? Convert the anode into a cathode by connecting to more anodic metal. This is called a cathodic protection technique. तीसरा प्रश्न है.
Use other metal instead of present cathode. Instead of present anode. Instead of present anode. By नहीं. Use other metal instead of present anode in order to save that metal and use and replace the anode by replace the cathode by anode, and now the cathode will be an anode. To convert that anode into cathode, use upper metal from the galvanic series. Use an upper series, hence the previous anode will be saved from galvanic corrosion, but the new anode will corrode.
Provide the insulation on anode and cathode surfaces. When you insulate anode and cathode surfaces from electrolyte, there is no ionic conduction at all. When there is no conduction, the dissolution will not take.
Provide insulation to the anode and cathode.
So these are the three suggestions which galvanic cell corrosion can be prevented. और दूसरी बात मैं बोल रहा था बेटा, in galvanic cell corrosion or electrochemical corrosion, दोनों नाम इसी का है. The material which is removed from anode gets coated on the cathode. बोल के बोल रहा था. So coating thickness of the corrosion products coated on cathode will increase as a function of time. So thickness of corrosion products कौन सा law को follow करके increase होता है बोल के, there are laws of corrosion. Write down. Laws of corrosion. Laws of corrosion. Laws of corrosion. Please write one sentence. I am giving by dictation.
Laws of corrosion.
The laws of corrosion are used. Come on, friends. Laws of corrosion are used to estimate the thickness of corrosion products. To estimate the thickness of corrosion products. To estimate the thickness of corrosion products as a function of time. As a function of time. In electrochemical corrosion. In electrochemical corrosion. In electrochemical corrosion. Right. Now copy down this table. Law and examples of the metals which follow that law. Linear law. Linear law is followed by plain carbon steels. Plain carbon steels. Comma. Magnesium. Barium and niobium. Nb. Magnesium, barium and niobium. Similarly, there is a parabolic law. Parabolic law. This parabolic law is followed by copper, stainless steels, copper, stainless steel, silicon. Then there is a logarithmic law. Logarithmic law. This is followed by nickel, aluminum, zinc and chromium. Nickel, aluminum, zinc and chromium.
Linear law. Plain carbon steels. Plain carbon steels, magnesium, barium and parabolic law. Copper, stainless steel, silicon. And logarithmic law. LGRTHMSC. Logarithmic law. Nickel, aluminum, zinc and krypton.
Now friends, why these laws are important? So how do we understand these laws? I told you friends, in electrochemical corrosion, whatever the anodic dissolution takes place, material removed from anode will be carried through electrolyte, it gets coated on the cathode, that coating thickness increases as a function of time. Suppose
Galvanic corrosion, saline water. गैल्वेनिक करोजन किधर है? अच्छा, वेट करोजन, गैल्वेनिक सेल करोजन। वन मेटल विल बिकम एनोड। नेक्स्ट 1 आवर। अभी चैट में कोई कर नहीं रहा इसलिए अभी 2 मिनट का ब्रेक था, वैसे कोई चैट कर नहीं रहा इसलिए ब्रेक कैंसिल। 1 घंटा और काउंट करेंगे। One metal will become anode, another will become cathode according to galvanic series in galvanic cell. The anode corrode and forms layer by going towards the cathode on cathode by going towards the cathode, that is the anode decomposes.
If the coating thickness increases as a linear function of time, that is called a linear law. If the coating thickness of corrosion products increases as a linear function of time, it is called
The law of corrosion is used to estimate the thickness of corrosion products as a function of time.
linear law. The linear law is followed by these methods. The coating thickness of corrosion products increases as a linear function of time. It is called as the linear law. The linear law is followed.
Coating, एक मिनट कर रहा है, estimate the thickness. Thickness of corrosion increases as a linear
with these methods. If the linear law, the linear law is followed with function as a linear function of time.
linear function of time. पैराबोलिक मतलब पैराबोलिक फंक्शन ऑफ टाइम. लॉगरिथमिक मतलब लॉगरिथमिक फंक्शन ऑफ टाइम. कोरिलेशन लेयर की थिकनेस लॉग के ग्राफ के अकॉर्डिंग अगर इंक्रीज हो रही मतलब वो लॉगरिथमिक लॉ को फॉलो कर रहा है.
The linear law. The linear law is followed by these methods. If the coating thickness increases as a parabolic function of time, it is called as a parabolic law. Followed by these methods. If the coating thickness on cathode increases as a logarithmic function of time, that is called as the logarithmic law. These are the methods that follow logarithmic law for increase in the thickness of the corrosion products in electrochemical corrosion. बेटा ये क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट है, याद में रखना है बेटा. क्यों बोले तो कभी-कभी कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम्स में यहाँ से भी क्वेश्चन आ रहा है. There is a question. Copper follows which law of corrosion? एक कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम्स में सडनली एग्जामिनेशन में कहां से याद आते हैं, सीधे बात है कहां पर देखो बेटा पैराबोलिक लॉ. अगर ये समान का अर्थ तुम्हारा याद में है बेटा, एग्जामिनेशन में तुम्हारे को 1 मार्क मिलेगा ना. So please try that. So इसको याद में रख लीजिए. It is an important aspect. That is regarding galvanic cell corrosion I wanted to add. Next, let me show you the next type of wet corrosion is number 2, known as concentration cell corrosion. Concentration cell corrosion. This is also a wet corrosion. Concentration cell corrosion. Come on, friends, this concentration cell corrosion is classified into 2 different types. We call them as pitting corrosion and crevice corrosion. Pitting corrosion and crevice corrosion. Pitting corrosion and crevice corrosion. It is classified into. Now let us try to see. So where does pitting corrosion take place? Pitting corrosion is mostly associated with storage tanks. Let me show you here. Suppose this is a storage tank. Suppose this is a storage tank. In industries, there will be varieties of storage tanks. These storage tanks are chlorine tanks, fluorine tanks, brine tanks. Okay, तरह-तरह का storage tanks maintain कर दिया जाता है. Right? Suppose imagine In one of the days, beta, what happened is these storage tanks will be normal in the open atmosphere, right? A brine drop or some rainwater drop has fallen. Whether it rained, and so a small droplet has fallen here. This is the water droplet. What is the size of this water droplet, sir? 2 millimeters or 3 millimeters, right? After the rain has subsided, normally maintenance people will come and clear off all the water contents on the storage tank. They try to wipe off all the wetness. लेकिन अचानक ऐसा हो गया, किसी को ये वाला ड्रॉपलेट दिखाया नहीं, so nobody tried to clean it up. Everybody left it like that only. Now when the rain subsided, air circulation starts. So now I am trying to show you air circulation. Air flow starts. When air flow starts, come on, beta. Air flow ऐसा बनते हैं बेटा. Air flow starts going like that. Wherever there is droplet, this droplet will not allow air circulation. Whereas where there is no droplet, air circulation will take place comfortably. Right? Now remember, in schooling days we have studied a principle. Flowing air will contain ionic charges. Yes or no? Flowing air will contain ionic charges. So where there is free flow of air, ionic concentration will be more. Where ionic charge concentration is more, that area will become cathode. So ये वाला cathode बनेगा.
बाप रे.
Where the droplet is there, air flow is obstructed. तो ये क्या करेगा? यहाँ पर air flow obstruct करने से, in this region ionic charge concentration will decrease. When ionic charge concentration decreases, that area will become anode. अब क्या हो गया? Anode and cathode are directly in contact through humidity in the atmosphere. Got it on that? Anode and cathode are directly in contact with each other through humidity in the atmosphere.
तो ये सही था भाई. इसको तो अपन अच्छे से लिखेंगे. Pitting and service करो या रिवाइज करो या जो भी है. तो फिटिंग के अंदर क्या होता है?
Flowing air will contain ionic charges. Yes, sir. Flowing will take place comfortably. Right. Now remember, in
flowing air contains ionic charges.
days we have studied a principle. Flowing air will contain ionic charges. Yes or no? Flowing air will contain ionic charges. So where there is free flow of air, ionic concentration will be more.
Free flowing air has more ionic concentration than
Where ionic charge concentration is more, that area will become cathode. So ये वाला cathode बनेगा. Where the droplet is there,
than the area near the droplet. जिसका आयोनिक चार्ज ज़्यादा तो वो बनता है कैथोड.
एयर फ्लो इज ऑब्स्ट्रक्टेड, तो ये क्या करेगा, यहां पर एयर फ्लो ऑब्स्ट्रक्ट करने से इन दिस रीजन आयोनिक चार्ज concentration will decrease. When ionic charge concentration decreases, that area will become anode.
जिसका आयोनिक कंसंट्रेशन कम, वो बनता है एनोड।
अब क्या हो गया, एनोड एंड कैथोड आर डायरेक्टली इन कांटेक्ट थ्रू ह्यूमिडिटी इन द एटमॉस्फेयर।
करेक्ट। Anode and cathode are in direct contact due to the humidity acting as a dielectric medium, है ना।
Anode and cathode are directly in contact with each other through humidity in the atmosphere. Therefore, अब क्या होता है, wet corrosion should happen. बोले तो anodic part should undergo dissolution from time to time. इसी के बाद से ये जो भाग है बेटा, in this portion you will see corrosion taking place. How does the corrosion take place?
Anode part will start to कौन सा वर्ड बोला रे,
From time to time. इसी के बाद से
डिसोल्यूशन।
ये जो भाग है बेटा, in this portion you will see corrosion taking place. How does the corrosion take place? Let me show you that completely. Suppose this is thickness of the storage tank. धीरे 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 क्या होता है बेटा, in this thickness, the slowly the metal here results into formation of a pit. धीरे 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 उस पिट का साइज बढ़ता जाता रहता है। क्यों बोलते, वहां पर corrosion से material दिखा दिया जा रहा है। कमा बेटा, in a limiting case, when the size of this pit increases, it can be transformed into a hole. When it is transformed into a hole, बोलो क्या होता, all the contents inside the storage tank will be leaking out. Yes or no? So leaking of storage tanks is an example of pitting corrosion. Correct? आगे बढ़ो। सर रिवाइज corrosion बोले तो क्या बात है? Revise means between two different parts. Revise का मतलब है बेटा, gap between two different parts. Let me try to show you here. So, for example, this is one plate and this is another plate. These two plates are fastened together. They are fastened together by a bolt and nut assembly. Right? This is bolt head and here is the nut. Here is the nut. This is the nut. Right? The bolt head, this is nut, and these are the plates which are fastened together by this particular nut. But 2 महीने पहले, before 2 months before, what happened is this nut was tightly tightened against this plate. But in these 2 months of time, what happened is due to vibrations that are transmitted to this particular assembly by other sub assemblies, vibrations transmit कर दिया गया. So due to vibrations क्या हो गया बेटा? This nut got unwound. because we got unwound. That is slowly ये threads के ऊपर से निकलता जा रहा है बाहर. Now what is this gap that is developed? This gap is called crevice. Gap between two different parts is called crevice. आइए कितना है सर वो gap? Maybe 1 mm or 2 mm. आपको दिखाने के लिए मैं इतना ज्यादा ड्राइंग करती हूँ. The gap may be 1 mm or 2 mm. तो तब क्या होता है सर? If this assembly is working in the open atmosphere, suppose it rained on a particular day, when it rained, come on friends, I'm giving you one. The possibilities. When it rained, a small water droplet got entrapped here, rainwater droplet got entrapped here. When rain subsided, maintenance people have come, they have cleaned all the assemblies and sub-assemblies and they have gone. किसी को ये वाला water droplet दिखाया नहीं, because it is not seen, nobody cared to clean it. क्यों? इसका size 2 millimeter है, किसी को ठीक नहीं दिखाया. अब क्या होता सर? When everybody left, come on, when rain has subsided, now air flow will start. Come on, let me show you the air flow. When the air circulation starts taking place, like when the air circulation starts taking place like that, this is how circulation will go on. Right? Where there is no droplet, air circulation will take place more effectively. Ionic charge concentration there will be more, hence the area will become cathode. Where there is a droplet, वहाँ पर air circulation cannot take place. That is the reason why there ionic charge concentration will decrease. बोलो बेटा, when ionic charge concentration decreases, that area will become anode. तो ये वाला भाग जो है बेटा, gap between this gap between this nut and the plate, that becomes anode. Now anode portion and cathode, they are directly in contact to moisture, which acts like electrolyte. अब क्या होता? Anodic part में धीरे-धीरे corrosion बनता जाएगा. So in this portion, corrosion starts taking place. Sir, how can I minimize it? How to prevent it? इस problem को overcome करने के लिए washers technology has taken birth. So people went on suggesting, use washers, metal washers, leather washers, plastic washers. तरह-तरह का washers आया भैया. Spring washers and disc washers. Okay, automobile industry is the industry which uses highest variety of washers to fight out this type of challenges. That's called as device corrosion. Right. Now, come again. That is regarding concentrations of corrosion, which is a part and parcel of wet corrosion. Next, we are going ahead with de-alloying. De-alloying. De-alloying.
Alloying.
याद में रख लीजिएगा दोस्तों. De-alloying means removing alloying elements from the alloy. This is classified into two different types. Let us say, for example, graphitization. One is called as graphitization, and the other is known as de-zinkification. Called as de-zinkification. Graphitization and de-zinkification. Come on, better. What is graphitization, sir? Graphitization means
Graphitization. What the fuck is this, bro?
it's not cementite to graphite.
Conversion of cemented into graphite.
Where does this problem take place? This problem takes place in case of cast iron pipes. Friends, you know, big diameter cast iron pipes are kept in the trenches. to communicate water from rivers to reservoirs? Yes or no? Drinking water communication. Rivers to reservoirs कैसा बनता है? बड़ा बड़ा big diameter cast iron pipes soil में trenches बना के लगा देते हैं. Now here, for example, cast iron. Do you know cast iron pipe life expectancy is 100 to 120 years? That is why cast iron is used for pipe manufacturing applications. अब आइए, एक बार cast iron pipe को ले जाके trench में लगा के trench close कर दिया. After closing the trench, you know what happened? Who is there in the soil?
ठीक है.
Silicon is there. Suppose that particular soil is having high silicon content. In the previous class you have studied silicon decomposes cement. ले जाके trench में लगा के trench close कर दिया. After closing the trench, you know what happens? Who is there in the soil? Silicon is there. Suppose that particular soil is having high silicon content. In the previous class you have studied silicon decomposes cementite into graphite. Hence it is called as graphitizer. Silicon decomposes cementite into graphite. चलो soil में रहने वाला cementite जाके कैस्ट आयरन का जो डोर रहता है उसके ऊपर टक टक क्या करेगा? अरे भाई अंदर कोई है सीमेंटाइट है क्या? Because when cementite, when silicon in the soil comes across cementite in the pipe, come on बेटा, इन दोनों के बीच में chemical reaction बन के क्या करेगा? Silicon will break the bonds between iron and carbon in cementite. Iron and carbon के बीच में रहने वाला bond को break करके carbon will be transformed into graphite. आइए, cementite is a hard phase. That cementite phase gives strength to cast iron to sustain internal water pressures. Now, when cementite is converted into graphite by silicon content in the soil, graphite is a soft phase, weak phase. Therefore, that graphite, बेटा क्या होता है? Graphitization के नाम में कितना समय लेता है सर? 20 साल के अंदर उस cast iron pipe में रहने वाला पूरा से पूरा cementite को graphite का जैसा बनाता है. Then what happens, sir? Hard cementite is transformed into soft graphite. Strength of cast iron pipe will be lost. Therefore, it cannot sustain internal water pressures. Hence, pipelines will burst away. When pipelines burst away, it is an example of graphitization, corrosion.
बाप रे. When cast iron pipes are buried into soil, the silicon content in the soil will break the cementite and react with carbon to form graphite. Since silicon is called a gravitizer, therefore within 20 years all cementite will be lost and the structure will be weaker. Unable to unable to withstand the water pressure. Example: bursting of pipeline. Bursting of pipeline, de-alloying. Bursting of pipeline is an example of graphitization.
Bursting of pipelines is an example of graphitization corrosion. Sir, all right. How do we prevent it? Because before keeping the cast iron pipes in the trenches, cover the cast iron pipes with polythene sheets. Suppose this is cast iron pipe, when you cover it with polythene sheet, this polythene sheet will become barrier between silicon in the soil and cementite in cast iron. जब ये दोनों का बीच में interaction बनने की possibility ही नहीं है, you are going to prevent graphitization. Yes or no? That is about graphitization. Next. What is dezincification, sir? Dezincification means removing.
Dezincification. Dezincification number 2. Dezincification.
Zinc. Sir, this is a zinc. That is about graphitization. Next. What is dezincification, sir? Dezincification means removing the zinc. Sir, this is a problem in high zinc containing brasses. It's a problem in high zinc containing brasses. High zinc containing brasses. High zinc containing brasses. It is a problem. मतलब है zinc content must be more than 15%. Zinc content must be more than 15%. वैसा वाला brasses तो बोलते हैं high zinc brasses. Sir, what is going to happen and when does it happen? For example, you are using high zinc brass pipeline. If you are using high zinc brass pipeline for communicating hot water, what will happen? Due to the presence of this hot water, zinc content in the pipeline will be gradually dissolved.
If high zinc containing brass is used for a hot water pipeline, the zinc will get dissolved with the hot water.
3 साल के बाद उस पाइप में सिर्फ कापर बचकर रहता है, जिंक नहीं रहता है. क्यों बोले तो उस पाइप में रहने वाला जिंक कंटेंट प्रेफरेबली टाइम टू टाइम डिसॉल्व करके निकाल दिया जाता है ड्यू टू द प्रेजेंस ऑफ हॉट वाटर. So when you are removing zinc from brass, it is called as dezincification corrosion. Sir, how do you solve it? You can solve it by replacing high zinc brass pipeline with low zinc brass pipeline. Low zinc बोले तो less than 15% zinc रहने वाला brass pipeline मिलता है अलग सा. If you can replace high zinc brass pipelines with low zinc brass pipelines, you will be able to solve this problem. Sir, is it going to be a permanent solution? No, beta. उसमें भी zinc है ना. So what is going to happen, sir? low zinc containing brass में से बेटा तुम्हारे को समय मिलता है. In high zinc containing brass, suppose you are required to replace the brass pipeline once in 2 years. In low zinc containing brass तुम्हारे को टाइम मिलता है 4 साल में एक बार, 5 साल में एक बार आप रिप्लेस कर सकते हैं, लेकिन रिप्लेस करना ही है because the
but the time replacement of pipe increases. Example, if zinc greater than 15%, pipes need to replace in 1 year, then zinc less than 15% pipe will last for 3 to 4 years.
No permanent solution to corrosion, only temporary.
No permanent solution to any corrosion, only temporary solution is there.
All right, that is about dehumidification. I want to add. Next, coming class, stress corrosion. Stress corrosion. Stress corrosion. Stress corrosion can be due to either internal stresses or external stresses. If the stress corrosion is due to external stress application, बोलो बेटा, क्या करेंगे? How do we protect the material? What is stress? Basically, corrosion which is accelerated by presence of stresses. Right? Stress corrosion is stress induced corrosion. बोले तो stress लगाने से corrosion बनता है material में. That means a material which is not subjected to stresses may be corrosion resistant. लेकिन same material के ऊपर जब आप stress लगाएंगे, material becomes easily corrodable. बोलो बेटा, when a material becomes easily corrodable due to application of stresses, the process is called as stress corrosion. But you cannot stop application of stresses on materials. Flywheel है बेटा. Can you keep it in your home without application of stress? Shaft को manufacturing कर दिया, you have to apply stress. Pulleys है, you have to apply stress. Right? Every component that is designed and manufactured in mechanical engineering requires to apply the stress. लेकिन stress लगाने से अगर corrodability tendency ज़्यादा बढ़ जाएगा, तो मैं कैसे इसका रक्षा कर सकता हूँ सर? Come on बेटा, add alloying elements. What type of alloying elements sir? Chromium, nickel का जैसा alloying elements को add करो. Add करने से क्या होता है सर? Chromium and nickel will increase the corrosion resistance in the steels. So by adding alloying elements, you can increase resistance to stress corrosion caused by external stresses. All right, sir. If this corrosion is due to internal stresses, मैं क्या करूं? Relieve the internal stresses. How can I relieve internal stresses? Example: cold bucket components have internal stresses. Right? On cold bucket components, go for stress relief annealing. When internal stresses are relieved, corrosion resistance will increase. बोल के लिख दिया था या नहीं क्लास में? Sir, the components will have internal stresses. Therefore, when the component of internal stresses go for stress relief annealing. When internal stresses are relieved, corrosion resistance will increase. बोल के लिख दिया था या नहीं क्लास में? Sir, coincident components will have internal stresses. Therefore, coincident components में corrosion resistance कम रहता है. How can I improve its corrosion resistance, sir? Relieve the internal stresses in coincident components. ऐसा करूँ sir? You can relieve internal stresses by tempering. बोल के मैं बोल रहा था. Tempering is used for relieving of internal stresses. जब internal stresses relieve कर दिया गया coincident components में, corrosion resistance will increase. All right, sir. Castings can have internal stresses. क्या करें? Relieve internal stresses in castings कैसा? by normalizing बोल के क्लास में बोला या नहीं? Right. So internal stresses को relieve करने से बेटा stress corrosion resistance बढ़ जाते हैं. Come on. Those are the things that I want to add in respect of corrosion. Now there are two important sentences that we have to write. Notes. Note number 1. Write down बेटा. मैं dictation से दे रहा हूँ. Number 1. Passivity of surface films. तैयार रहो. Please write this. I am only dictating. Passivity of surface films.
Passivity of surface films.
Please write. I am giving by dictation. Passivity of surface films. Please write down. Under service conditions, yes. Under service conditions, certain protective films are formed. Certain protective films are formed. Certain protective films are formed on both cathode and anode surfaces. On both cathode and anode surfaces. On both cathode and anode surfaces. Full stop. In the presence of such films, right? The alloys become highly resistant to corrosion. The alloys become highly resistant to corrosion. Full stop. This is known as passivity of surface films. This is known as passivity of surface films. Right. Now write some examples. Iron chromium alloys. Iron chromium alloys are called as stainless steels. They are also called as stainless steels. Next, nickel and its alloys. Nickel and its alloys. Next, aluminum and its alloys. Next, titanium and its alloys. Titanium and its alloys. ये examples क्या देंगे? These are the alloys. These are the commonly used alloys that show passivity in nature. That means, in the presence of protective films formed on cathode and anode, these alloys appear to be more resistant to corrosion. बेटा exactly इसी क्वेश्चन के ऊपर से एक कॉम्पिटिटिव UPSC में क्वेश्चन आया था बेटा. ABCD में alloys दे दिया, पूछा था. Which of the following alloys will exhibit passivity of surface films? Come on. That means you have to remember these examples. So, second one. Second one. Sensitization of stainless steels. Sensitization of stainless steels. Sensitization of stainless steels. Sensitization of stainless steels. To give the dictation, please write down. Sensitization of stainless steels. Please write. When austenitic stainless steels are, cooled from or cooled slowly from above 800 degrees centigrade or cooled slowly from above 800 degrees centigrade, come on. Chromium carbide precipitation takes place. Chromium carbide precipitation takes place along the grain boundaries. Chromium carbide precipitation takes place along the grain boundaries. And the adjacent grains will be depleted of chromium. Full stop. Depleted of chromium. Adjacent grains will be depleted of chromium. Full stop. These chromium depleted regions these chromium depleted regions will become readily corrodable. Will become readily corrodable. These chromium depleted regions will become readily corrodable. This is known as sensitization of stainless. This is known as sensitization of stainless steels. Right, beta? Now, we have almost completed the corrosion chapter. We only have to give you some dictation regarding how to prevent corrosion, and then we have to give you the answers of workbook questions from corrosion. The chapter is over. Now, we'll take 15 minutes break to facilitate your timely dinner. Then we'll again come back and continue. All right, thank you. Break for 15 minutes.
चलो अभी एक ही लेक्चर बचा है, उसको फटाक से कंप्लीट करते और मटेरियल साइंस को एंड करते, फिर एक्स्ट्रा पार्ट भी करना है।
Yes, friends. I'm back. Now it's time for us that having completed the topic on corrosion, we have to examine what are the suggestions for prevention of corrosion, and then we have to also look into what are the answers for workbook questions in the topic on corrosion. That's what exactly.
हवन करते हैं। मटेरियल साइंस पढ़ रहे हैं, थ्योरी ऑफ मेटल कटिंग। थ्योरी ऑफ मेटल कटिंग तो नहीं, मैं करोजन टॉपिक कर रहा हूँ। तो चलो करते हैं। नए हो तो यार सब्सक्राइब कर देना चैनल को।
Now moving forward, let me write here. Suggestions for prevention of corrosion. Suggestions for prevention of corrosion. Suggestions for prevention of corrosion. Come on, friends, right? Number 1, use high purity metals. Use high purity noble metals as far as possible. As far as possible.
Use high purity noble metal.
Right. This is one suggestion. High purity metals can be used, or noble metals can be used, and then use corrosion resistant alloys. Use corrosion resistant alloys. Next, use simple designs. Use simple designs.
Use corrosion resistant alloys.
Avoid complex shapes. Avoid complex shapes. Next, number 4, avoid contact between.
Use simple
Avoid contact
design
between
and avoid
dissimilar metals.
complex.
Avoid contact between dissimilar metals. Next,
Avoid
number 5, avoid gaps between. Avoid gaps between different parts.
dissimilar
Avoid gaps between different
metals.
parts. Or let us say, for example, instead of writing different parts, we will write adjacent parts.
Avoid
gaps between adjacent parts. ऐसा लिखें. Next, replace bolts and rivets. Replace bolts and rivets by
replace
welding. Right. Next,
bolts and
we write here
rivets by
annealing
welding.
can reduce stress corrosion. Annealing can reduce stress corrosion.
Annealing can
Next, number 8,
reduce
galvanic cell corrosion.
stress.
Galvanic cell corrosion can be prevented by
Galvanic cell
by There are three suggestions that I am now giving.
Corrosion.
For galvanic cell corrosion prevention,
Prevented
by using large surface area, by using large surface area
by using
for
large
anode
surface area for
than cathode,
anode.
And number two, we write using cathodic protection technique, using cathodic protection technique, and number three, by insulating anode and cathode from electrolyte. Next, number 9. We write addition of corrosion inhibitors. Bracket में लिखो बेटा, like phosphates, chromates, zincates, tungstates, molybdates, etc. These are all called as corrosion inhibitors. To the corrosion medium,
Chromates.
addition of these materials to the
Zincates.
corrosion medium
Tungstenates.
reduces
Tungstates.
corrosion problems.
Molybdates.
By formation of passive films. On metal surfaces. Right? This is the ninth section that we can think of. Similarly,
To the corrosion medium reduces to the corrosion medium
number 10,
reduces
using
corrosion
protective coatings.
problem
By aluminizing,
formation
tinning, galvanizing,
of passive films.
and chromizing, reduces corrosion problems.
Number
corrosion
10,
problems. Now try to understand here.
using protective coating by aluminizing. Coating by aluminizing, thinning, and thinning ne tinning, galvanizing and chromizing. Chromizing reduces corrosion problems.
When I say aluminizing,
अरे हेलो सुमन, गुड आफ्टरनून. अभी मैंने माइक लगाया हो कॉलर पे, तो आवाज़ कैसी आ रही है बताना. तो
that means जिस मेटल का प्रोटेक्शन करना चाहते हैं, जिस मेटल के ऊपर corrosion prevent करना चाहते हैं, coat that metal with aluminium. That is called as coating with aluminium is called as aluminizing. Similarly, coating with tin is called as tinning. Coating with zinc is known as galvanizing. Coating with chromium is known as chromizing. So these elements, when they are coated as protective coatings on the metallic surfaces, they prevent corrosion or reduce corrosion problems. That's what is mentioned. Next.
अच्छी आ रही है.
Process
Thank
and
you.
branches provide protection against corrosion.
Brasses.
They provide protection
We are
against corrosion. Provide
brasses and
protection
bronze.
against corrosion.
Provide protection.
Grasses and branches provide protection against corrosion in saline water environment.
Against corrosion.
Environment. In saline water environment.
दीवार भी चमक रही है.
Titanium and zirconium.
आज पहला इंसान है जिसने ऑब्जर्व किया. अच्छा दिख रहा है कि उन्हें लाइटिंग लगाया और वो पीछे बुक्स के पास भी थोड़ा बॉर्डर पे शायद कम दिख रहा होगा, लेकिन मैंने लगाया वो, तो वो अच्छा दिख रहा है.
Provide protection against corrosion. Provide protection against corrosion.
In saline water.
Provide protection against corrosion in chlorine atmosphere. In chlorine atmosphere. Next, another suggestion number 13.
Wait for a second.
Addition of
environment. अच्छा लग रहा है. सही है, थोड़ा अच्छा लगता है, लेकिन यार पापा को शायद पसंद नहीं आया. बोल रहे कि पढ़ाई छोड़ के क्या क्या काम कर रहा है. तो क्या करूँ, ये लगाया तो वीडियो में थोड़ा सा अच्छा दिखता है. पापा तो बोल रहे यूट्यूब पे फालतू में चला रहा, बोले उससे अच्छा पढ़ाई पे ध्यान दे.
Next, another suggestion number 13. Addition of chromium, nickel, aluminum and niobium increases corrosion resistance. Addition. Next, addition of chromium,
आप तो दोनों करते हो,
nickel,
वही ना.
aluminum and niobium increases corrosion resistance.
मेरे को क्या बोले वो, तू कुछ भी कर बोले, लेकिन तेरे को सिर्फ फल मिलना चाहिए बोले, मेरे को बाकी कुछ नहीं, ऐसा बोले. मैं बोला ठीक है.
Increases corrosion resistance at high temperatures. Increases corrosion resistance at high temperatures. Next, number 14. Good surface finish. Good surface finish reduces revise corrosion.
Addition of chromium, nickel,
Revise corrosion.
aluminum and
Next, number 15.
increases
Cyaniding prevents.
corrosion
Cyaniding
resistance.
Atmospheric rusting of steels.
Temperature.
Cyaniding
Good
prevents
surface finish.
atmospheric rusting of steels. Right. Those are the suggestions for prevention of corrosion.
सर जल्दी स्लाइड चेंज कर देता. गुड सरफेस फिनिश reduces previous corrosion. And last is
Rusting of
cyaniding prevents
steels.
atmospheric rusting of steel.
Cyaniding prevents atmospheric rusting of steels. Right. Those are the suggestions for prevention of corrosion. Now, I'm trying to give you the answers for workbook questions. Answers to
याद है कि उस दिन मैंने बोला था कि 4 घंटे और करूँगा तो वो सब्जेक्ट ख़त्म हो जाएगा, लेकिन वो 4 घंटे 10 घंटे में बदल गए, सब्जेक्ट ख़त्म ही नहीं हुआ।
Giving you here question number and its answer. Right.
लगे रहो भैया।
Let me take you to
थैंक
this
यू।
particular aspect. Right. Therefore, that's the answer. And for question number 8, basics of nanomaterials.
नैनो मटेरियल स्टार्ट हो गया।
Basics of nanomaterials. Now, friends, as we talk about these nanomaterials, let me quickly write. There is no specific syllabus in this particular topic. This topic was introduced into UPSC IES examination syllabus way back in 2014. In the UPSC manual, this topic is mentioned as basics of nanomaterials. इसका मतलब है ना, actually nanomaterials itself is like a ocean, right? So कितना syllabus specific कर सकते बोलते हैं? No, there was a dilemma. That's the reason why only basics are to be touched बोलते दिया गया है बेटा. So यहाँ पर क्या identify करेंगे? What is a nanomaterial? What are the different types of nanomaterials and why nanomaterials are having, extraordinary properties compared to the conventional alloys, composites, etc. Right? What is their superiority? Why they are having excellent properties? वो बात बता के applications of nanomaterials बताना है. These are called as basics of nanomaterials. Come on, friends. So we are trying to understand that यहाँ पर दो तरह का nanomaterials हम देख सकते हैं. We write types of nanomaterials. Types of nanomaterials लिख के. Let us try to understand. These nanomaterials are basically of two types. We call them as fullerenes, fullerenes, and nanoparticles. We call them as fullerenes and inorganic particles. Fullerenes and inorganic particles. Fullerenes and inorganic particles. Now, out of these materials, fullerenes, they are called as fullerenes because they are invented by a scientist जिसका नाम था बकमिस्टर फुल्लर. सो फुल्लर नामक साइंटिस्ट से इन्वेंशन कर दिया गया मटेरियल था, इसी के वास्ते वैसा वाला मटेरियल को बोला गया है फुल्लरीन. Now what are fullerenes in our terminology? They are nothing but they are allotropes of carbon. They are allotropes of carbon. Next, they are made from graphene sheet. They are made from graphene sheet, not graphite. They are made from graphene sheet. Then, sir, what is the difference between graphene and graphite? Friends, graphite will have hexagonal ring-like structure. Graphene will have pentagonal ring-like structure. Means microstructural appearance is different, but basically graphene and graphite both appear to be allotropes of carbon only. Graphite is having hexagonal ring-like structure, whereas graphene will have pentagonal ring-like structures. Now these fullerenes are allotropes of carbon. They are made by rolling process. They are made by rolling process. They are made by rolling process. When they are made by rolling process, they are manufactured in two different configurations. They are manufactured by rolling process into two different configurations. They are called as carbon nanotubes. They are called as carbon nanotubes, and then nanospheres. Nanospheres. So nanomaterials are classified into two types. One type is called as fullerenes. Fullerenes are allotropes of carbon. They are made from graphene sheet by rolling process. By rolling process, these fullerenes are manufactured into two types of configurations. In the tubular configuration, we call them as carbon nanotubes, whereas in the spherical configuration, we call them as nanospheres. Now, if you see what type of properties will be there with these materials, with these carbon nanotubes and all that, we understand that carbon nanotubes are efficient conductors. They are efficient conductors. Now, if you see what type of properties will be there with these materials, with these carbon nanotubes and all that, we understand that carbon nanotubes are efficient conductors. They are efficient conductors of heat and electricity. They are efficient conductors. They are efficient conductors of heat and electricity. Carbon nanotubes are efficient conductors of heat and electricity. They possess good strength and flexibility. They possess good strength and flexibility. Next, they are used in modern optics and electronic applications. Optics and electronic applications. Talking about the carbon nanotubes having pentagonal ring-like structures, right? Nanospheres, they are the spherical ball-like configuration. In the nanoparticle size, that means in the nanometric size, 10 power -9, -10 level पे by diameter, right? At that particular size, nanosphere size, these spheres, what will be their properties? They act like tiny ball bearings. The small particle size, small spherical form, they act like tiny ball bearings. They act like tiny ball bearings. They act like tiny ball bearings when placed between sliding surfaces. When placed between sliding surfaces. When placed between sliding surfaces, they act like tiny ball bearings. But this is the reason why they are extensively used in aerospace industries for solid lubricant application. So I write here, that is, they are extensively used in, they are used extensively as solid lubricants. They are used extensively as solid lubricants in aerospace applications. They are used extensively in aerospace applications as solid lubricants, right? Those are the small pieces of information about nanoparticles, right? Nanometric size particles, nanometric spherical form. They are also called as buckyballs. They are also called as buckyballs. Right? They are also known as buckyballs. This bucky comes from the name of the inventor, Buckminster. Right? So nanospheres and carbon nanotubes are the two types of fullerenes that we are finding applications extensively in electronic applications, optics applications, and in aerospace industries, in aerospace applications for as solid lubricants. Now let us see what is the second classification, sir. The second classification is what is called as nanoparticles. Now with reference to these nanoparticles, हमारे को एक definite काम करना पड़ता है. We need to define with reference to inorganic particles what is a nanomaterial बोल के बोलना पड़ता है. So I write here nanomaterials are the materials containing inorganic particles in the size range of 1 to 100 nanometers. 1 to 100 nanometers. This is the definition of nanomaterial. Materials which are containing inorganic particles in the size range of 1 to 100 nanometers are called as the nanomaterials. Now, so what will be the materials inside the inorganic particle? That's what actually I am writing now. These inorganic particles will be consisting of either oxides, they are made out of oxides, they are made out of carbides or nitrides, oxides, carbides, nitrides, or they are made out of metals and alloys, and they can also be made out of ceramics and polymers. They can also be made out of ceramics and polymers. Right? Now, reality is that using these inorganic particles, you can produce zero-dimensional materials, one-dimensional materials, two-dimensional materials, and three-dimensional materials. So right here, using inorganic particles, products can be manufactured. Products can be manufactured in zero dimensions. They can be manufactured in one dimensions. They can be manufactured in two dimensions, or products can be manufactured in three dimensions. That means zero-dimensional particles, one-dimensional wires, two-dimensional films, three-dimensional solids. So you can produce
products can be in 0 degree, 0, 1, 2, 3. And oxide carbide nitrile metal alloys ceramics. एक मिनट थोड़ा गेम ओवर। हाउ 4:05 हो गए हैं, 1 मिनट बाकी है गेम ओवर होने का है।
The materials are inside the inorganic particles. That's what actually I am writing now. These inorganic particles will be consisting of either oxides,
Consist of
made out of oxides, they are made out of carbides or nitrides, oxides, carbides, nitrides, or they are made out of metals and alloys,
carbides,
and they can also be made out of ceramics and polymers. They can also be made out of ceramics and
metal and
polymers.
alloys.
Right.
Metals and
Reality is that using these inorganic particles,
alloys,
you can produce zero-dimensional materials, one-dimensional materials,
ceramics
two-dimensional materials,
and
and
polymers.
three-dimensional materials. So I write here, using inorganic particles, products can be manufactured. Products can be manufactured in 0 dimensions. They can be manufactured in 1 dimensions. They can be manufactured in 2 dimensions, or they can be products can be manufactured in 3 dimensions. That means 0-dimensional particles, 1-dimensional wires, 2-dimensional films, 3-dimensional solids. So you can produce nanomaterials, products made out of inorganic particles of these compositions, whose particle size is in the range of 1 to 100 nanometers, and final products can be manufactured in the form of powder particles. Or they can manufacture in the form of wires, they can manufacture in the form of thin films, 2-dimensional, or they can manufacture into 3-dimensional final products. Now, एक इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेटमेंट यहां पर लिखेंगे बेटा, दैट इज
कितना टाइम बाकी है, टाइम लिख लेते हैं अपन। ठीक है, आधा घंटा बचा है। चलो आज की स्ट्रीम यहीं पे ख़त्म करते हैं, और मेरे को कहीं बाहर जाने का काम पड़ गया है तो इसलिए